Hello there, everyone. What you're about to listen to is the first in an upcoming series of episodes on this show that I'm calling Now This Was Lit. In this series, which will run through most of this summer, I'm going to share past interviews with Star Wars authors and creators that I've done. A lot of you have maybe missed some of them, so I'm going to rebroadcast some of those for you while the show is on a break for a couple of months. The break hasn't started quite yet. There are still a few more new episodes coming your way very soon, but you'll understand as you listen why I'm reposting this interview to celebrate a sequel, because we love those in Star Wars. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will tell you more about our upcoming series very, very soon. This episode of Now This Is Lit is brought to you by Audible. Check the link in the description to get your first Star Wars audiobook free. Everyone loves free things. Click that link. Do it. This show is also brought to you by our patrons. If you want to support the show in a different way, with just $1 a month, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/StarWarsLitPod. You can get a sticker. You can get access to an exclusive show that we do every month that's wild and chaotic and fun and something you can only get by becoming a member of the Patreon. There'll be so many more perks very, very soon. But for now, do you want a sticker? Do you want a sticker that has a Now This Is Lit logo? Because it's fantastic and I love them. But I also want to give them away because there's just a stack of stickers on my desk. So if you want one, $1 a month. Patreon.com/StarWarsLitPod. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. You're listening to Now This Is Lit, a podcast about Star Wars books, the people who make them, and the readers who just can't get enough of them. I'm your host, Meg Dowell. I use she, her pronouns. And Kelly Knox is on the show this week to talk about Star Wars, dad jokes, the jokes themselves, and also the entire book of Star Wars themed dad jokes that she wrote that is out today. I love getting to talk to people who write Star Wars things. It is one of the greatest joys of my life. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I enjoyed having it. I don't know what else to say. Here's the interview. All right, here it is. I got it.
Yay.
This book that I'm now holding up, no one else can see it. You can, I can. It, as people are listening, it is out into the world, and I need to know, how does it feel to know that some people have read it already, a thing that you wrote, and many more people are going to be reading it very soon. I need to know what that feels like.
It is wild and a little scary, but it's not my first book, which
Yeah.
is good because I think I'd be a lot more nervous, but it is.
Yeah.
It's kind of like one of the more personal ones. So
Yeah.
it's really kind of nerve-wracking to think like, yay, people are gonna read it, but like, oh no, people are gonna read it. But I just hope I just hope that somebody reads it and gets a laugh out of it and maybe trolls their kids a little bit. That's my main goal now.
I got my copy and I turned to the back, and of course on the back there were a couple examples, and even in that I was smiling. I was like, this entire thing is going to just bring me so much joy, and it did, and I'm sure that was the end goal already, at least with one person, that being me. Mission accomplished.
Yeah. Yay.
What you have done here is you have written a Star Wars themed book that is just a bunch of Star Wars dad jokes, which is fantastic and definitely something we all needed. But I also am curious as to how a book like this comes to exist. Not something we normally get in terms of the different kinds of books that are published across all the different things. But I need to know Star Wars dad jokes. How did we get here?
This was definitely an unusual one, I think, just all around, because it started in 2020. I started tweeting dad jokes, Star Wars dad jokes, because everything was, doom
Yes.
and gloom, and we were all doom scrolling, and I was like, this is depressing being online. So I decided one random morning to tweet something stupid. I mean, I do that anyway, but this was particularly stupid. And it was just a joke that I think, yeah, it's in there. The joke is in the book, but when I tweeted it, it was, you know, 3 retweets and maybe like 50 likes. Like it wasn't like this immediately viral idea, but you know, I made myself laugh, which I thought was fun. And I really just wanted to break up everybody's feed. So I told myself I would start doing it one joke a day. I decided just because, you know, we were all kind of no, yeah, we were bored. We were bored. We were all playing Animal Crossing. We were all
Yes.
doom scrolling, you know. So it was that kind of era. And so I really wanted to kind of lighten the mood a little and distract myself too. And so that's how the dad jokes, the Star Wars dad jokes started was on Twitter. And I think I kept it going for like a year, maybe a year and a half, before I decided, you know, that's quite enough. um, but I kept them. I kept a spreadsheet because you know, I would just copy and paste the tweet because I was trying not to repeat
Mm.
a joke. And so I had this list of them. And so, you know, it kind of, you know, you tweet the same kind of thing, everything for a day, it becomes what you're known for. And so, you know, it kind of got around. And in that time, you know, I'd already started writing some books for a few publishers. I did a Star Wars book, I did Be More Obi-Wan. And so eventually I was talking to, actually, I don't even remember. Yeah. Word started to get around where it was just like, hey, this should be a book. And I would say, oh, that'd be fun. This could be a book. And so it was kind of a real informal kind of thing until one day I heard from an editor at Chronicle Books and he was like, hey, I was talking to Mike Seglain at Lucasfilm and he said, this should be a book. And if people listening don't know who that is, he's kind of the head of publishing at Lucasfilm.
Mm.
I worked with him. I'd met him in person at Celebration in the Anaheim one was that 2021, 22?
22.
Yeah, and so I think maybe the chatting had gotten around. So usually with books, IP books, editors do usually come to you. So that wasn't the weird part. I didn't
Mm.
have to pitch, but I did end up sending the spreadsheet that I've been keeping kind of like as a like an informal pitch. Well, I didn't know he was actually gonna start like jumping off from that. I mean, they were horrible. There was misspellings, like it was just stuff I'd pasted in there, and I was really sort of embarrassed when I found out that he had kind of used that as a jumping off point to get like the ball rolling on it. And so the book ended up only being a few from that spreadsheet. So it's
Mm.
like 80-20, you know, like 20% of stuff that I already had done, maybe tweaked a little bit, and then all new stuff. So it's a very long answer because it's kind of a weird process for how this book came about.
No, I love it because every book, every Star Wars book, because it has a different process, has a different origin story, has a different like thing that eventually led to the thing that sparked the thing that made the thing happen.
That's kind of exactly what happened here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this one is so unique. It's so fun to hear like, oh, like, you know, everything was terrible and I started being funny and now I have a book, which delightful. We all need that. We all need to laugh. Um, Speaking of, I'll just go right into this question. It fits, it flows, it works. Star Wars is so many things, and it can be so many things to different people at different times. It can be, you know, there can be a thought-provoking story, there can be a story that makes you cry, and Star Wars so many times is also humorous and makes us laugh. And why do you think it's so important for Star Wars fans to laugh and have a reason to, you know, lean into that humor and just have a good time?
You know, as long as I've been a Star Wars fan, which is pretty much since, you know, we won't say how long, I've noticed that it's never taken itself too seriously,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
There's always the holiday special, which most people don't like to talk about, but it's still sort of the same idea, right? Where
Yes.
it's for kids, it's for, you know, like we all say, it's for hope. And I think part of all that goal and making people feel hopeful and happy is, you know, the jokes are part of that. That lightheartedness is part of that. C3PO, I think, was the original comic relief in
Mm.
A New Hope. for a long time, George Lucas said everybody hated him just as much as they hated Jar Jar later, which is not at all warranted. But so he would lean into that kind of humor because he believed in it himself. And I think he even said for 3PO, he doubled down because he was like, yeah, well, I'll put more humor in Star Wars, which you look at Empire and there are some really funny moments in that between 3PO and Han Solo. So I think it's just part of Star Wars DNA to keep things lighthearted and funny. It stayed that way, 3PO again in the Rise of Skywalker. He's so funny in that one.
Yes.
So yeah, I think, there's things that we all think of with Star Wars and, space battles and believing in hope. And I think a little bit of laughter to help keep you going, I think is one of those things that makes something Star Wars.
I remember going into The Rise of Skywalker and, not knowing really what to expect, definitely not expecting to laugh as much as I did. And it still amazes me every time I rewatch it. I'm like, this is the funniest that 3PO's ever been, and maybe like the most I've laughed at a Star Wars in a while. I love it.
They did so good.
They did.
It's like my oldest friend joke that they kept running with. Like, he was so funny in that.
Yes. Yes. No, I want to rewatch it just for more laughs. I now need a list of funniest Star Wars moments. I'm sure one exists.
Yeah, I mean, they even outside of like the Skywalker movies and everything, George Lucas has always been so open with letting people parody too, like Family Guy and Robot Chicken and all of them. They've all done parodies too, right? So it's not a super precious story to him, which I've always really admired, because like some of the funniest stuff I've seen is from the Robot Chicken Star Wars stuff. So I kind of feel like I got to add to that tradition a little bit.
Oh, I love that. Let's go back to Star Wars dad jokes specifically, and I want to know what makes a really good Star Wars dad joke. I want to know if you have if it's anything, any process, anything that goes into formulating one of these, because every single one that I flipped through in this book has made me at the very least smile, and it's great.
I always aim for a nice, snort, like
yes.
There's no real process. A lot of dad jokes I feel like kind of build on an old classic one. The very first one that I tweeted was like just a Star Wars twist on a classic joke. So I think there's a strong basis there that I could always start with. And then there's so many funny names that you can easily make a pun out of. There's places. There's always, I would look at idioms, I think. I don't want to give away any of the jokes in the book, but sometimes like a list of idioms I could look at and be like, I can't even say it without thinking or say the example. But like, you just look for phrases that can kind of be turned into a pun that could be kind of tied into Star Wars. But the things I always wanted to make sure of was that it's appropriate for kids, because that's what makes a dad joke. And a dad joke for me, it'll never make fun of Star Wars or make fun of the character. They're in on the joke. It's, you know what I mean? I'm not mocking anything or anybody, because it's all about the love of Star Wars. So that was always an important part of the process to me. And that's how I started it too, when I started doing the daily jokes, was, it's always made in love.
I love it. And I cannot wait for everyone to get this book and just laugh out loud. We all need that. We all need to, really just, sometimes it's healthy to like, step back from analyzing Star Wars and thinking deep thoughts about Star Wars and just like find things to laugh at because of the things about Star Wars that we love. And that is exactly what this book is. And I'm so glad that a bunch of your tweets eventually turned into this book, and that it is now out for everyone to enjoy. And I hope they do. And yeah, maybe someday there will be more.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I do want to give an extra shout out to the illustrator, Johnny Sampson.
Yes.
I don't know how to tell you without sounding like I'm being way too modest, but I swear his illustrations are way funnier than the jokes. Like they crack me up so much when I flip through the book. Like they're just wonderful. He did such a good job. So I wanna throw that in for him.
Yes, they are delightful, and highly encourage everyone to get the book, especially for that, because the words and the pictures together, it makes it even better. Perfect. I love it. Oh, thank you so much for talking to me about Star Wars and laughing and this book. I'm so happy that we're here getting to talk about it, and we've been smiling the whole time, and that is what all this is about. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks again for having me.
Now This Is Lit is part of the Faraway Fandom Network. It is produced by Devor Mondam and written, hosted, and edited by me. Jose Jimenez designed our podcast art. You can keep up with the show on Substack and Now This Is Lit, and find the show wherever you get your podcasts. There are so many ways you can support the show, and all of those ways are linked in the show description. The newest way is to become a member of our Patreon for $1 a month. You can get access to an exclusive show and a sticker. And if we get 500 people to support the Patreon per month, I can hire an editor. That would be great for me, and maybe for you too. So if you'd like to support the show with just $1 a month, you can do it that way. Or you can just keep listening and sharing the episodes. That is also helpful, and I appreciate it. For more book reviews and Star Wars Book Celebration, follow Star Wars Book Reviews on Instagram and TikTok.